Today I'm going to teach you how to be able to play from a page in the hymn book. And a lot of people struggle with this because what's written on the hymn book is not really what you're supposed to play when you're playing the piano in church. And if you're like me, and really most piano students, we start learning piano. The first thing we learn is the notes, the name of the notes, and how to read notes off the paper. And so then we're given a book with a bunch of notes on paper, and those are not what we're supposed to play, but we're somehow supposed to know what to play from those notes. And so it can be hard, and it can be a real challenge for classically trained pianists to break the mold of playing what I see and instead improvising based upon what is on that page. And so that's really what you've got to learn to do when you play from the hymn book. So take a look at this page from the hymn book. This is the song At Calvary, and from this hymn book page, it's in the key of C. What you have to be able to do when you're playing hymns from the hymn book is to look at the notes that are on the page and then know what to play, but don't play what's on the page. So this is not really notes for us to play, but rather for us to reference and then play from that reference. So it's a lot like if you've ever played from a chord sheet. If someone hands you a song and it's just the words of the song and the chords above the words, a lead sheet, a chord sheet. That's a lot like how we kind of have to think. But if I'm given a lead sheet and it's got certain chords, what I have to do is play those chords and try to play them in a beautiful way to maybe accompany a singer or play with other instruments. And so if I see a C chord and an F chord, well, I'm not just gonna play a C chord and sit on that. I have to improvise on that C chord and play something nice. I'm improvising on the F chord in the right hand. I'm using a different left hand pattern. All from the reference of the chord sheet. So what we do with the hymn book page is we play referencing what's on the page, but don't play what's on the page. So the notes that are here would be the bass and the tenor note, and then the alto and the soprano note. This is not how you hear church pianists play. They play something like this. So there's two different styles that I'm going to talk about here as we talk about how to play from a hymn book page. The first is if you're playing for congregational singing. And that would be when you have a group of people all singing the song, and you are accompanying them, backing them up, and really supporting them. And in some ways, even leading the congregation as they sing. And so when you do this, the melody is very important. We want to help the congregation sing by bringing out the melody. That's what most of the singers will be singing. And if they don't have that strong leading melody, then it can be hard for them to follow and sing together and stay on tune. So the melody of the song is what the soprano note is. It's this top note of the music. This here, it's a G in the first measure, and it goes down to F, E, F, G, A, G. We want to bring that out in our accompaniment. So as we play chords and we fill out the left hand and we make it a more full style, we want to make sure we accent that melody. But the good news is you don't have to play the melody exactly, but you ought to reference it strongly, especially on the first and third beat. So if I'm playing and it's kind of hard for me to get all the melody notes, especially if I'm trying to fill out the chord and I'm playing a left hand pattern that's a little bit more complicated, it might be hard for me to get all those notes in there. But if I can reference the melody strongly, especially on the first and third beat, those are the strong beats. There I left a lot of the notes out, but that's enough to lead a congregation if I'm playing congregational style. However, you do want to stick close to that melody. But it's okay to leave some notes out here and there as long as we're getting the strong beats and we're coming together on those beats. Now, the next thing you want to do when you're accompanying in this style is to lay a strong rhythmic foundation. And when the congregation is holding a note, well, you should be playing the beats and be playing a pulse that's going to bring them together. So when we get to the second measure here and they hold out pride, I would play on that fourth beat. I'd play something. Just anything. And you can play a pattern. As long as you're keeping good time and you're laying a solid rhythmic foundation, that's going to help the congregation follow. Even you can just repeat what you played on the next beat. Now this happens again on the second line at the end of the verse right here, as you can see when we're singing on Calvary. This happens again. We've got two half notes and then a whole note. So what we want to do is establish and play the pulse of the rhythm to keep the congregation together when we get there. So the end of the verse sounds like this. So I'm playing something on the beat. And again, it doesn't have to be fancy, it doesn't have to be flashy, but it needs to be on the beat, a rhythmic, solid rhythmic foundation. So again, you can just repeat the note again on the beat. You can repeat the note in an eighth note pattern. Say if I were to do the end of the verse like this. But that rhythmic pulse that I'm providing is like a metronome for the congregation to follow and to stay together. So that's very important. Bring out the melody and then establish the rhythm. Lay that solid rhythmic foundation for the congregation to stay together. So when you play congregationally, you want to match the energy of the congregational song. When we're accompanying from the hymn book, when we're playing for a congregation, where we have a lot of people singing, we want high energy and we want to play powerfully and in a full way. So another thing that you want to get good at doing is being able to fill out the hands and play the full chords in the right hand and left hand patterns in the left hand. And so there's all kinds of different patterns you can play in the left hand. I actually have a free PDF that has lots of different left-hand patterns, some very easy, some a little bit harder, but all of them are beginner to early intermediate level. And so that's free for you. I encourage you to get that. The link's down in the description. And get those left-hand patterns solid so you don't have to think about the left hand as much and you can start to fill in the right hand. And so learning how to fill all that in. Also, I have several videos on how to fill in when you're playing hymns. Going from, just playing what's written or just playing the melody with the chord. This is where most people start. Single note melody and a chord in the left hand. And how to take it from here to something like this. So I have several videos on how to do that. I'll link those in the description as well. Go over there and watch that and learn how to fill in the hands because that's a big part of playing congregationally as well. Now the next way to play from the hymn book is when you're accompanying a soloist or a singer. When someone's singing a special song in church, if it's like a performance where someone is performing the song for the congregation. You want to accompany in that setting. It's in a much different way. When we're accompanying from the hymn book, when we're playing for a congregation, where we have a lot of people singing, we want high energy and we want to play powerfully and in a full way. But when we're playing for a soloist, we want to back off a lot. The soloist should get the most of the attention. If the pianist is competing with the singer for the attention, then that's not good. So we want to back off a lot and allow them to sing. So a good rule of thumb when accompanying a singer is to follow, don't lead. So when we're playing for the congregation, we really take a strong leadership role by laying that rhythmic foundation and playing the melody. But for a soloist, you don't want to take the central role, but more in the background, and to support and follow, but not to lead. So if a soloist were singing the song at Calvary, they're going to sing it in their own way. They may improvise on the melody, they may adjust the timing and sing it in a way that's their own. So I don't want to compete with them by trying to play the melody the way I want to play it. So I'll follow them as they sing. I want to back them up by supporting them with the chords, but not really playing the melody. So the best way to do this is to have several accompaniment patterns that you can go to and you can utilize when you're playing for a soloist. And you just play these accompaniment patterns over the chords that you have, and then when the soloist is holding a note or not singing, that's your opportunity to play more. But other than that, you just want to take a background role and support with a accompaniment pattern. So one that's very simple would be something like this. And the soloist could sing the verse. So when they're holding the note, I can do a little fill. I can play something in the space there. And then we continue the pattern. Years I spent in vanity and pride, knowing not it was for me he died. Something very simple goes a long way when you're accompanying. You don't want to compete with the singer. And so if I were accompanying in this song, I would choose a beautiful flowing pattern. That the one I just played is a great option and very simple. Simple is quite often best when you're accompanying. You'll hear many professional pianists, when they're playing for a singer, they do something very minimal like this. One important thing to note when it comes to accompanying is it's a good idea to change the pattern of accompaniment from the verse to the chorus. And so if I'm going to do this during the verse, when we get to the chorus, I could change that up. And then we go back to the verse again, and I can do similar to what I did on the first verse. And then we get to that second chorus, maybe something with a little bit more energy. And then if there's a bridge, then we can use a different pattern in the bridge to contrast with what we've already done. And then we can bring it back around to that chorus if there's a final climax. I have a lesson on different accompaniment patterns. I'm going to put that link down in the description. You can grab that and you can learn the different patterns that you can apply over different chords, and it makes accompanying really easy. So really all you need is just 4 patterns that you have, go-to patterns, and you can apply them to any hymn and accompany in a beautiful flowing way that is leading somewhere and can build to a climax, and really it'll take your accompaniment to a whole nother level. And this is the professional way to do it. Again, listen to some professional pianists and you'll find that this right here goes a long way. Something that simple. But doing it intentionally and knowing where you're going and having some variation to it, that's all you need. And you can really take your hymn accompaniment to the next level just by doing that. So I hope this helps you and you're able to take a page out of the hymn book and play confidently and beautifully from that information on that page. If this lesson was a help to you, hit the like button right now and subscribe to this channel for more lessons like this. Leave me a comment if there's something you'd like me to talk about. Also, share these videos with a pianist that you think would benefit from lessons like this. When I was learning how to play piano in church, I know I would have loved to have a resource like this where I could learn so much all for free. So if there's somebody you know that would benefit from this, let them know about these lessons, and appreciate you watching. We'll see you in the next video.